Hi everyone, Nick here, and today we're having a look back at another F1 2020 league race. And this one is at one of my favourite tracks and most people's not favourite track, Paul Ricard at Le Castellet, home of a French Grand Prix. Now I feel like this track gets a bit of a bad rep because I will concede that the real life races here so far have been appalling. And I know some people don't really like the aesthetics and how it's just all concrete with blue and red stripes and all that kind of thing rather than gravel traps. I don't mind it. I think it's nice to have something different. And I mean, blue stripes is kind of different to other tracks. And I quite like the track itself. This of course is probably somewhat influenced by me being quite good round here, and I think I've got 3 or 4 league race wins round here with the really tasty soft medium strategy. If you can do that, it's very, very handy. However, obviously we're in the Alfa Romeo, which is not an amazing car, so we weren't expecting to win here or anything like that, but I kind of, you know, combining one of my favourite tracks with one that I usually go well at, I was feeling quite optimistic and feeling quite happy and wanted to just try my best for this. And as a result, I probably did the most practice that I've done for any of the races in this league race season than I have for a while. I think I did a couple of full length, well 50% length practice races and a reasonable amount of time trial, so I was feeling reasonably prepared. Unfortunately, all of that practice had been in a dry, so obviously we had wet weather in the qualifying and race sessions. It was going to be heavy rain going to light rain in qualifying, and it was going to be light rain throughout in the race. So it meant that we're basically spending the entire, well, all of the evening on intermediate tyres. And because of that, I didn't really want to go out too much in qualifying because you'd only get so many sets to use for the whole weekend. So I didn't want to burn them all up in qualifying. But we had to actually set a lap. We had to actually get a hang of it. So our first lap, we crossed the line to go 8th on the grid, 144.171, which wasn't great. We lost time. You saw how wobbly we were through the last couple of corners, but you can see on this lap we're much better. We're 8 tenths up and we get a lot closer, ish, to the apex on the left hander, and we carry better speed through here. We get the car turned in and we get it straightened up and we get on the throttle. Don't get too much wheel spin, and we managed to gain over a second on our previous lap, actually 1.1, and we've got 1.111 better, 143.060, and at the time that was good enough for 4th, and that was pretty decent. However, by the time we came out for our second run, we were down to 10th. Now I'd spent a little bit of time in the pits trying to calculate if I came out for 2 more flying laps, when did I need to leave the pits to cross the line as close to 0 as possible. And it turns out that my mental maths was reasonably okay. As you can see here, we're going to cross the line to start our final flying lap with about 10 seconds to go. We did improve on our previous lap, knocked about a tenth and a half off, but we still had more time to find. So first couple of corners, I find in the wet you want to sacrifice a little bit of time on the left-hander to get it straightened up and then just carry more speed generally and make it as shallow as possible. Same through there. You don't really want to just throw it in too much. You want to just try and keep the minimum speed up. Now through here in the wet, it's really have to try and be as brave as possible. Try and carry as much speed as possible because it's not flat, at least it's not for me, but you want to be as close to flat as possible. So the chicane down the back straight, same as normal in the dry, pick it out 100 metres and try and carry it through, and then get on the throttle here, minimise the wheel spin, and then get off down the straight. And we're not doing amazingly at this point. We're less than half a tenth up on our previous best. This is another one where you want to lob it in, really throw it in, but again you have to be really brave on the throttle. And we've actually lost time here through the long right hander, but we've managed to gain a bit on the exit, which has worked quite nicely. But then we've lost a bit on the proper exit, so you can see how difficult it is sometimes. We've kept it nice and tight there though, and we've got on the throttle a lot earlier, and that's gained us a couple of attempts. A little bit of a wobble as we go past the other car, and we try and keep it as tight on the left hand side as possible. We're much closer, we're actually touching the curb this time, which opens up this corner a lot better. We get the car straightened, we get on the throttle, a little bit of wheel spin, a little bit of a wobble, but we're going to improve by about a quarter of a second, and that's going to do a 1:42.623, and is good enough for third place. And we celebrate by smashing into the car in front. Well, not my fault, the car had been taken over by the AI, but yeah, third place. Okay, it's a second off of pole, that's fine. Third place was one of the best qualifyings I've had all season. And in the wet, I'm not very good in the wet. I think it's one of my weaknesses as a driver on the F1 games. So I was dead pleased with that. Really was very happy with that. But would we be able to carry that through into a race where we'd be on intermediates again? So, third place on the grid, lights out and off we go. So we get an okay initial start, but we're a bit cautious. We don't use ERS or any rich fuel, and as you see, it costs us because Miles just goes straight past us. And again, we're going to be cautious into turn one. We get a little bit of a tap from someone, and we've basically not had a great time there. It says we got a collision with Hags. I don't remember seeing Hags at any point, but unfortunately he's, I think, been spun off, so that's not ideal. But we've lost 3 places there. We lost place to Miles, to Owl and to Sunny. And we're going to try and be careful, because at this point we're on the back foot, but we don't want to lose any more places. But I've said it before, you want to be steady on the first lap. It's all well and good. Yeah, I mean, I would rather lose another place or two than be in a wall. And in the wet as well, you've got to get into a rhythm. And you can see here, DP has gone up the inside. There's a little bit of contact as we try and turn in for the corner, and we get round there and we get the better acceleration out of the chicane and are able to hold the place. So that was a little bit elbows out from, I think, the pair of us there, but it's all good. I didn't get any damage. I don't think DP got any damage, so I think it's all fine. So at this point we're thinking, right, okay, so we've held that place. Can we maybe try and look at the cars in front and get back on track? But unfortunately, we're going to scupper that almost straight away because we have a real wobble there. The back end through there was constantly feeling a bit light, and as a result we get a rubbish exit through there. We run wide and DP is able to get the place easily enough. And maybe we could have tried to be a bit bold and try and get up the inside to this corner, but again, it's the first lap. You don't want to be doing that. So at this point we've managed to finish the first lap in 7th place, which, given we started in 3rd place, is not what we were after. So fast forward to the end of sector 1 on lap 3, and we have dropped a little bit back from DP, who has dropped a lot back from Sunny, and we are now under severe pressure from Hom behind in the AlphaTauri, who is now going to go up the inside of us, but we're going to be able to brake nice and late, give him some room, and he tucks in behind us. So that means we've been able to defend 2 people by being nice and late on the brakes there. That's quite good. I was quite happy with that. And we just had to make sure we didn't lose the place back down this straight. Again, we could have used rich fuel or ERS if we needed to, but at this point I didn't really have to. And we've been able to hold the place and stay in 7th. Now at this point I was starting to feel like I was getting into a bit of a rhythm. I always find it's a bit harder for me to get into rhythm in the wet, but I felt like I was starting to do better, and you can see we're less than a second behind DP up ahead. So we were starting to make a little bit of progress. So things were going pretty well. Unfortunately, there is going to be a bit of a spanner as I was kicked from the lobby, and PSN, not really sure why, just one of those things that occasionally happens. But by the time I got into the lobby, then I found that my car had ghosted and had let other people go through, and by the time I figured out how to regain control of my car, which is really unintuitive, you have to select yourself on the spectator menu and then press the X button and then click on take control, which is not the default option. So we've managed to eventually navigate those menus, and we're going to regain control in the middle of a braking zone. Again, not ideal. And you can see we're not happy. We're down to 9th place. We're not in a great state of mind, and we have a wobble through there, which is going to let Chugsy in his Mercedes cruise through. And you can see that I said before I was getting into a nice rhythm, feeling really confident. Nothing like a disconnection to completely ruin your headspace. So we were down to 10th place and feeling somewhat demoralised at this point. And at this point it was basically about trying to keep up as much pace as we could. So we had a virtual safety car on lap 8, which, you know, we weren't really close to anyone, but the Delta was incredibly hard to follow behind this one. You kind of had to keep just slamming the brakes on to go pretty much no miles an hour, and then as soon as you do that, you then suddenly a second off the Delta, and then you accelerate a bit, and then it's like, okay, well actually no, now you're miles over it, which is not ideal. But it did mean that a couple of people decided to pit behind the virtual safety car to try and get a cheap pit stop, because even though you don't need to make a pit stop with intermediates or indeed wet tyres, you are going to have to around here. Tyre wear is not amazing around this track, so you're going to have to do that. So we were back up into 7th place as a result of other people pitting, and that was okay, but it meant that they'd got a very nice cheap pit stop and technically didn't have to pit again until the end of the race. Nearly wipe Chugsy out there and give ourselves both 5-second penalties because of how the game works, but we managed to just about avoid it and then get back onto racing at speed and try and get on with the race. But we've got Sonny behind us. He has pitted. Remember, he was just ahead of us at the start of the race when we had lost a few places, and now he's behind us having pitted again. So that tells you how much time we've lost. And of course he's in the Renault, so it's going to fly past because that's what Renaults do. So we were back down to 8th place. We try our old trick of maybe braking nice and late and going around the outside, but nah, he's too far ahead. We're not going to get that job done, and we're back down to 8th. So not a big fan of that, let's be honest. And at this point I was trying to think, well, what do I do strategy wise? And my tyre wear seemed to be reasonably okay. You can see 50%, nearly at half distance. We're not thinking of doing a no stop or anything, but we're thinking maybe we can go a little bit longer than other people, and then maybe a safety car or something will come out and help us out. So you can see start of lap 14, pit window is open, but we've been able to get up to 6th place because of other people pitting. Unfortunately, we don't help ourselves by getting our 3rd warning and getting a 3-second time penalty by cutting turn 1. Very easy to do here, especially in the wet. If you don't have a racing line on, then, you know, because this track is just concrete curbs and painted stripes, it's kind of difficult to pick any kind of landmarks or braking points, so it can be a bit tricky. But anyway, start lap 15, we're up to 5th place because of other people pitting, and lap 17, we're starting to come under pressure from Owl behind, and he is in his racing point. He's got fresh inters, but we're not going to try and intentionally hold him up, but we're going to try and do our best. We don't really want to let another person just cruise past us. At some point, even though you know you're in kind of a different race to the other person, at some point you do just have to just say, I think anyway, you do just have to say, I want to just not bow. I'm not going to like swerve around. I'm not going to close the door on him. If he goes alongside me and gets up the inside, fine. But we're going to try our best to see if we can hold the place. And if we hold him up, unfortunately we're going to hold him up. And apologies to Al, because I did hold him up quite a lot. Unfortunately, he was going to get past in what is very untypical fashion. As when I pressed the ERS button, my camera angle changed and meant I got completely thrown off through that corner. Had to lift off, had to pause, change the camera angle, and yeah, we lose the place because the game just decided that I had to look in a different camera. So that's a disconnection and a camera angle change out of nowhere. That's the kind of thing that just really makes you enjoy a race. So end of that lap, we were down to 6th and we thought, yeah, okay, let's pit now. We've annoyed Owl enough. We can't annoy him anymore because he's ahead of us. So, okay, let's let him go. Let's get some new inters on. We've gone, basically, well, we're on lap 18, so effectively we've gone 2/3 distance on our first set. And then that safety car we were hoping for, it's not coming. So let's just get on with the race, get our new tyres on and see where we come out once we've got those tyres. Now maybe some of those people who pitted early on, maybe they'll start struggling, so maybe we can do something. It's unlikely, but you never know. Anyway, we came out on track in 12th place and the pace was reasonable, not amazing, but I definitely felt I was getting back into a little bit of a groove, and you can see we were able to get back up into the points in 10th place after we made a couple of positions after people pitted, and we started to close down Stefano ahead of us, who wasn't amazingly fast down the straight. So you can see here we gain a little bit, but then we're able to gain a bit through the chicane. We seemed quite strong through the chicane, to be honest, pretty much all down. Maybe just felt quite good under the brakes there. And through here we've got rich fuel and overtake, and you can see we're half a second down, but we are going to close in, so it's less than 3 tenths, less than 2 tenths. We're thinking about it. No, it's too late, we're not going to get that move done, but we were being held up and we did need to get past him because he didn't have a time penalty and we did. So if we were going to get that place ahead, we had to get it and also get 3 seconds down the road. So that was going to be tricky. So we get through the chicane and try and get a nice exit if we can. So we've got rich fuel on. We're going to get the car nice and steady, and now we're going to go for overtake. And we're quite a long way back here, still 5 tenths down, but we're closing. We've got the slipstream. Stefano runs a little bit wide and a little bit unsteady, and this is going to be our chance. So we're going to go up the inside and we get the job done. And I thought I was quite happy with that overtake. I thought that was quite nice. Not a typical overtaking position, especially in the wet. It's a tricky place to get through there. And that was lap 23, and we're up into 9th place. Unfortunately, we then had a safety car.
As well.
Could have done with that about 3 or 4 laps earlier to actually help us out, but it meant we were going to be able to close up ahead, and a couple of people decided to pit behind us because they had dead tyres, but no one ahead of us, which meant that we restarted so far back we didn't even catch the safety car queue, and we were in 9th place with a gap of 5 seconds to Hags in front and 9 seconds to Chugsy ahead of him. Chugsy did have 6 seconds of penalties, so if we could get within 3 seconds of him, then we might be able to do something. But we had 2 laps to go, and that was going to be really, really difficult. Now what was going to be much easier was overtaking DP's crashed Red Bull, as he unfortunately had a crash on the penultimate lap, and that put us up into 8th place. But you can see up ahead we are closing on the cars ahead, and at this point I did feel my pace was pretty decent, but it was too little too late, and we just didn't have enough time. Another couple of laps and then maybe we could have got within the range to get to Chugsy, but it wasn't going to happen, unfortunately. So we round the final corner to head onto the straight. We're not massively far behind. It could probably have been a lot worse after our disconnection and our camera shenanigans. We crossed the line to finish 8th, and we weren't overly happy with that, unfortunately. And yeah, I feel like that could have gone better, could have gone worse, but I feel like after we started 3rd and had a really solid qualifying, it was really disappointing to have the race go that way, and it was frustrating because I felt it wasn't all my fault. Some of it probably was, but it wasn't all my fault. So we finished the season in 6th place, level on points with Semi ahead of us, but he wins on countback because he got a couple of wins and we didn't get any. First time in a while we haven't won a race in the season, so we need to put that right in season 4. So what did we learn from the French Grand Prix? It's a difficult one. I didn't really enjoy anything from the race. Occasionally my pace was alright, and I think if I had to take one thing, it's something that I wasn't really noticing during the race, but I noticed when watching this back making this video, is that some places I was actually not too bad. My pace wasn't too bad, and one of the bits I was happy with was I was quite solid on the brakes, so my braking through the chicane on the back straight was quite good. My braking in other places was quite good. So that was okay. As long as I picked the right braking points, and occasionally through that long sort of left-hander about 3 or 4 corners from the end, I was braking a little bit too late. But it's really difficult to spot your braking point through that, I think, anyway. There's the excuse to cover up what I've learned being wrong. But yeah, I thought it went okay. I think one of the things I need to do is just be a little bit more confident. 3rd place in qualifying as well. I think that tells you that I did an okay job despite the conditions. Anyway, that's the end of this video, and indeed the end of season 3 of the Serious Racing League. And it's been an interesting season, probably more interesting for the other 22 people taking part in it, as it's not been one of my favourite seasons. There have been some good battles, there have been some good races, but mostly it's been frustrating. Let me know in the comments below what you think your highlight of the season's been. If you've been watching all the videos, then congratulations and possibly commiserations given some of the lamentable levels of driving from my end. But let me know what you're looking forward to for season 4, which starts in just a couple of weeks. And don't forget the old liking and subscribing stuff. You know it makes sense. Helps out the channel a lot and it is massively appreciated. So go do that if you haven't already done so. Thank you very much in advance. If you want to hang out on Discord, Twitter or Instagram, then details are in the description below. And if you want to watch me racing on F1 2020, either in league races, usually every Wednesday or Sunday, or in my team mode, or any other games I happen to play, then head on over to my Twitch channel. Details are on the screen now and are in the description below. But until next time, and the next video, goodbye.